Okay. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining today's information webinar. My name is Christina Hood. I'm the program manager of the Young Game Changer Initiative that is being piloted in Senegal, Colombia, and India. So today we have an hour for this information webinar. The actual information we'll be giving with a few, like let's say the first half of the meeting, and then we'll give you the opportunity to ask us as many questions as you want or like to understand more about, the submission or ask us any for any clarification. This webinar is being recorded, just for your information, and please do mute your microphone as we are talking. Give you room to speak at the end when we reach the Q&A section. So for today's kind of agenda, we'll start by the welcoming remarks, kind of have an overview of what is the YGI. YGI is the Young Game Changer Initiative. And then we'll deep dive into the submission guidelines. So what is expected from the people who will submit, which format you can submit in, what are the key themes, what are the ideas that you can submit, and what are the next steps in terms of deadlines and communication. So as I said, my name is Kristen. So I'm managing this program from the headquarters level. I work at UN Habitat. For the ones who don't know, UN Habitat is the United Nations organization that is mandated to work on human settlements, communities, and cities. We are the custodian of SDG 11, and we have a big team working worldwide, but also in Nairobi, Kenya, where the headquarters is. And we do cover a lot of themes around urbanization and sustainable planning. This project in specific focuses on youth and more so on health and well-being. And why do we really want to focus on those topics? Because 60% of the population will be under 18 by 2030. And Africa is one of the youngest population between all the continents. So the topics and the challenges that youth are facing, are huge. And if you don't find ways and means to have them included in those discussions that, are affecting them, whether being engagement processes, whether being planning cities, or their health and well-being, then we risk that we're designing planning cities that are not, catering for their needs. So this also comes in a huge moment where health environment was declared as a human rights last year. So really the topic of health, well-being, young people is what we are aiming to focus on in this submission for the call for papers. This project is being funded by Fondation Botnar, which is a philanthropic Swiss foundation, and we have two projects that are really at the core of our work with them. So the Young Game Changer Initiative and the Youth 2030, where young people are driving and implementing organizing more the SDGs. So what is the Young Game Changer? I briefly kind of mentioned it, but I guess being piloted in India, Colombia, and Senegal, and the main objective is to improve health and well-being of young people in intermediary cities. So we're focusing not on main cities, but more intermediary cities where government really and people really need support and push to push those agendas. So the three main pillars of the program are strengthening the governance frameworks and advancing health and well-being of young people through governance processes, whether it be frameworks, policies, and so on. The second kind of pillar is the digital engagement and giving young people the voice, the agency, giving them the right skills to engage in the governance process. And the final one is the inclusive public space, because public space is an easy entry point. It's quite easy for governments to also understand. And this is where we're supporting the delivery and actually the implementation of public spaces that are youth-friendly, safe, accessible, and promotes health and physical activity. So this project is being done through the support of many sections within UN Habitat, but also with other external partners. Just so you understand, we are mainly the Global Public Space Program is driving this project. We have the innovation unit who are also focusing on the aspect of digital engagement and innovative ways of rethinking our work when it comes to youth and health, and the Human Rights and Social Inclusion Unit, which really focuses on youth ecosystem, making sure that we're thinking of young people not just as a one entity, but there's many groups of young people, young persons with disability, young migrants, young women, young persons with like from the LGBTQI community and so on. This project is also in close partnership with WHO, the World Health Organization, and the Block by Block Foundation. And I'm sure the colleagues will drop some links on the chat so you can know more about both. So the process this project started a year ago, and we started with the phase A, which is kind of setting the scene, making sure we select the cities that we want to intervene in, and we do the call for the cities where we got Armenia in Colombia, Barni in Senegal, and Chatni in India as our pilot cities. And so there's now an establishment of like kind of urban labs where there's a digital equipment where young people would go to those safe spaces and be engaged in a process to analyze public spaces at the city level, then kind of understand the quality of those spaces. There will be design workshops using innovative tools like Minecraft and games. And then there will be an architecture studio where their ideas will be transformed into technical drawings, and they will implement the public spaces. So this is like phase A and phase B that you're seeing in yellow and in green on the screen. But at the same time, we're documenting evidence as we're going. We're seeing the journey of the young people. We're seeing those co-working workshops. How are they impacting their well-being? Are we building knowledge? Are we increasing their skills and future employability? Are we creating inclusive spaces that are youth-friendly or not? And although the research is really targeting in India, Senegal, and Colombia, we want to have, or we always had at the back of our mind, global work as well. So just to say that this submission is not just for the 3 countries, that is a global submission where you can bring case studies from all over the world, because we want to bring this global lens to our project. So this call for paper fits within the phase C and D that you see on the screen, which is kind of documenting evidence at the global level, but also helping us to generate knowledge and package it, through this edition that we're going to talk about with the Journal of Public Space. So this is why we're launching now this global challenge, where we're inviting all the young researchers to submit papers in regards to the topics I mentioned. And I'll leave it, I don't know if Louisa is on the call, but Louisa, you have the floor now to guide us through a bit on the Journal of Public Space, and then Sherry can talk more about the submission.
Yes, I'm here. Christelle, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so the Journal of Public Space, as you can read here in the slide, is a research project developed by City Space Architecture, which is a non-profit organization based in Italy, in partnership with UN Habitat. We started the Journal of Public Space back in 2015, and the first issue was launched at the Habitat 3 conference. I have to highlight that the Journal of Public Space is a diamond open access journal, which means that we do not ask authors to pay for article processing charges. So authors publish without paying any fees, and being also open access means that readers can also read contents that are freely available online. Since the first issue in 2016, we have published now more than 20 issues, and we have been cooperating with many different stakeholders to address the complexity of public space from many different perspectives, and also to actually give voice to unheard countries, overcoming the Western-oriented approach that is leading the current discourse on public space. So our partnership with UN Habitat is actually moving in this direction to explore new territories in regard of public space with reference to the Global South in particular, and we are currently working on a special issue related to African public spaces, which will be out very soon. And so we hope that through this special issue, we can also give voice to young researchers and practitioners to know about their way of understanding, living, and perceiving public space. So, yes. So what is the process? You know, the Journal of Public Space is an academic, peer-reviewed journal. We apply a double-blind peer review. So all contents are evaluated by external reviewers. It's double-blind because authors do not know reviewers and reviewers do not know authors. This is to ensure the quality of the contents that we publish. Comments from peer reviewers are intended to help authors to improve the contents of what they submit, and we always follow, myself and appointed guest editors are always following the process and providing support and advice to authors and reviewers. So there is a specific procedure for the submission. Probably we will talk about this later, if I'm not wrong, Christelle.
Sorry, yes, we will.
Or do you want me to continue by explaining the process?
It comes later. I think Sherry will be.
Yes.
So maybe just Louisa to also mention that it will be launched and during the World Urban Forum. So there is an opportunity for some articles to be really presented during this forum, which is a big event that we do as UN Habitat every 2 years. It will be in November 2024 in Cairo, in Egypt. And through our exhibition booth or through some events, networking events that we will apply for, there is room for some of the submissions to be presented during that event. So maybe
yes, sorry, just to add something. We already had events at in previous World Urban Fora in WUF 9 in Kuala Lumpur and WUF 10 in Abu Dhabi, also recently at WUF 11 in Katowice, where we have actually presented the Journal of Public Space in cooperation with our partners through networking or side events. So this will be a very exciting opportunity to engage young researchers to discuss about public space at the upcoming WUF 12 in Cairo.
Yes. And with that, I'll give it to Sherry.
Thank you, Christelle and Louisa. My name is Dr. Sherry Enns. I hope everyone can hear me. And I'm also joined by my colleague, Namrata. Namrata, do you want to introduce yourself? I'll just briefly say that I'm honored to be the guest editor for this edition of the journal leading up to the World Urban Forum in 2024. I'm also a professor of planning and a UN affiliate on this project. Namrata.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Hi, everybody. My name is Namrata. I work with the Innovation Unit as well as the Young Game Changers Initiative at UN Habitat, and I support Sherry and all our colleagues here on our research engagements, as well as looking at the digital participation side of the Young Game Changers Initiative. So excited to be here with you today and really excited for the submissions that are going to come in. So thanks.
Thank you. So I believe you're all here because you're interested in public spaces and you see the value and that they contribute to overall community health and well-being. But really, there's little written or much less written or research on the impact on youth health and well-being, especially through a youth lens. So this is a really exciting addition or a submission organization through YGI to begin to critically look at public spaces with youth and for youth in a way that we begin to really assess health and well-being. So if you're here and you're interested in the more academic submission, which I'll come to in a few minutes, I think probably you'd like to be somewhere between, I don't know, heading late 20s, early 30, up to 32, certainly 32 at the time of submission. And maybe you're in university, this
Sherry, you are muted.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm not sure how it muted. My apologies. So you may be in the more academic, emerging scholar, already a scholar, or you may be a youth that's just beginning to explore writing stories, or even younger, and we'll come to that in a few minutes, artists with poems or stories or pictures that really can speak to the impact of public space on health and well-being. So some of the themes that you can explore linked to Young Game Changers Initiative broadly, but spaces you love, elements of public space, design elements, the analysis of the impact of those spaces on individual or community youth in the context of communities' health and well-being, stories of participation, access or barriers to city processes to participate, critical assessment of challenges and barriers to participation, but as well as participation that integrates the important concept of inclusion and digital skills in terms of the design of public spaces. So if you fall in one of the three groups, the next slide, the first group that is interested in a more academic research article, then you already know that you're going to be thinking about the challenge, framing the context in some way, asking 2 or 3 specific questions with methods, notes, and your full referencing. And in order to do this, you'll be submitting an abstract and receiving feedback on that abstract. And we'll come to that in a few minutes. So here we're really focusing on the analysis and the assessment of public space as it intersects with health and well-being. Now, some of you may be interested in a more critical essay, and perhaps not as academic, but a case study, a time when you did participate, or when you saw public space change and viewed the impact, or a public space that you find not inclusive or even very safe. So this submission is only 3,000 words, but still needs to include references and notes and copyright-free images, but it's a much more story critical reflection perspective, and again, for scholars up to or including 32 years of age. Now, the last submission is for young researchers, and we're putting the age frame here as 15 to 24 years old. Perhaps you have a photo of a public space with a caption, you have a drawing, even a digital drawing, a poem about a public space, or a public space that somehow wasn't inclusive or safe, and that still reflects the broad journal themes on your health and well-being. So these are the 3 broad categories. And we can go to the next slide. that highlights some important elements that Louisa might want to reference further. And Namrata, at any point, please speak or add your thoughts on this, but it has to be original, so not something you're publishing elsewhere. Could be part of coursework, but it cannot be published elsewhere. The short paper should make sure that it also includes notes, but it's not really a research piece, it's more a critical thinking piece. And the format is as there on Microsoft. All these details are on the website. And we will be available by email, as well as to put you in the right direction for further information. Keeping in mind, we're really addressing health and well-being. So how is this defined for you? Health and well-being. What are the elements of a public space that affects and influences your health and well-being, or takes away from your health and well-being? And then we can go to the next slide. So in terms of the guidelines, we've more or less gone through these already. Just reminding you that Dr. Louisa is the editor-in-chief. I am the guest editor. But for any questions, as you begin to work on your abstracts, please feel free to submit. And I'm sure all of you probably have ideas just sitting about a public space you'd like to write about, or a space or a question you have about public spaces and the barriers to inclusion. So see this as your opportunity to advocate for youth planning, designing, governing public spaces at a very high level. And Namrata, would you like to add anything to that?
Thanks, Sherry. I think you've covered everything, so nothing more that I would add. But I guess I encourage everybody to think really creatively as well. And one of the themes that Sherry mentioned was digital, and that's also something we're really keen on exploring, is the relationship between physical public spaces, but then also the use of digital technologies within that. And so encourage applications that are exploring that relationship as well.
And I'll just add things, I'll add one point, that it would be really good to think about how your role and participation intersects with city systems, or doesn't. So what avenues are there for you, and with having more skills in digital space, even make that participation stronger. So I think those are the main points, and we'll be handing it over, I think it's next steps.
Yeah, maybe over to Olga.
Thank you very much, Christelle. Thank you, Dr. Sherry. Thank you, Namrata. So I really encourage everyone who is interested in submitting, mark this timeline with important dates and deadlines. So as you all know, the call was launched on the 15th of September, and it will be open up until the 1st of November. So make sure that you submit the deadline, the abstract for the paper before the 1st of November. Then after 2 weeks, we were going to have official notification for the authors of successful submissions. So it's also important to note that only authors who are successful in the submission of the abstract proposal will be notified of the acceptance of their proposal. And then the timeline begins for the submission of the full papers. And the young authors will have 2.5 months to submit the full article, and they will be then the review process begins. And on the 10th of March, the authors will be notified of the comments and suggestions by peer reviewers. And then on the 30th of April 2024, the final papers must be submitted. So then the production phase begins, and by the 2nd of November, so just in the lead up to the World Urban Forum, which will take place between the 4th and 8th of November 2024, there will be an official publishing of the volume, and then it's already been mentioned, it will be presented on the World Urban Forum. That's pretty much it for the deadlines and timelines. So that's gonna be it from me.
Thanks a lot, Olga. And with that, I think we end the information viewing, and we want to hear from you if you have any questions, concerns, or you need any other clarification. So you can raise your hands and then we can give you the floor to speak, or you can also write on the chat if you're not feeling comfortable to speak. So I'll go in order. Salma.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I just have one question. How many people could actually participate in one paper? That's it. And thank you.
Maybe Louisa or Sherry.
Yes. What?
Louisa, do you want to start? And I can add to that.
Yes. Well, usually we do not have limitations in terms of authors, number of authors. But then, of course, I mean, if there are more than, let's say, 10 authors, it becomes a problem in terms of attribution of contents. We have to follow rules related to academic publishing. So it's very important that, names included in submission are contributing authors to the contents of what it is submitted.
Great, I think that answered the question. We move to Nada.
Yeah, hello. Good morning, everybody. I have a question about the originality of the research. So if this research has not been published before, the findings and the results, but it's going to be eventually in a PhD dissertation. So does that disqualify it? And thank you.
Well, I don't think it is disqualified because usually, contents are, written for that specific purpose related to the submission. So what you will be submitting, I guess, will be different from the dissertation because probably it's a summary or maybe you're focusing only on certain concepts inside a longer master thesis, I guess.
Yeah, of course, that's true.
Yes, so no problem. We know that some contents are coming from research developed as part of master or PhD thesis, so that's fine. It is important when you submit that you acknowledge in the end that this contribution is part of a larger research work for the master thesis, and you provide some details.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you very much.
Hello, Lucia.
Okay, so now I'll give the floor to Peter.
Yeah, thank
Hello.
you. Thank you, Lucia. This is Peter for University of Lagos. I already dropped my question on the chat, but let me, for the benefit of others, I was asking if joint authorship is allowed. For example,
Sure.
a student and a supervisor co-authoring a paper.
Yes, as I said, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Louisa, maybe on this specific point, we could just double check on the age of the supervisor. Maybe we can highlight something regarding to that, because I assume the supervisor might not be youth range, and I don't know if we have any guidelines on that.
That's important.
Yeah, in fact, we have received several emails regarding this, saying that, of course, research contents are usually developed in a team of researchers. So maybe the first author could be in that age range that we are asking, but then second and third author could be higher than 32 years old. This is one of the questions that we have received in the past weeks. from some people that are interested to submit. So for what I can say on the side of the Journal of Public Space, yes, this is fine. So we understand that, you know, research is developed under supervision sometimes, especially for young researchers. So this is how it works in the academic environment. But I don't know if UN Habitat wants to add something regarding this, how we check also the age of the authors. This is also a question.
Yeah, well, I think that ideally the first author should be used because are 32 years and younger. Because I agree with your comment, because the idea is to give opportunity to youth. And so if all we're doing is, repackaging other older scholars, then that's probably not the vision for this edition. But
yeah, no, I agree. And many have asked, can we submit if we are 32? So as of the day of the submission, if you are 32, you can submit. If in like 4 months later, you're 23, that's fine. But from the day of the submission, if you are 32, you're eligible to submit the paper. I'll move to Katja.
Yes, if I can, sorry, Christelle, if I can add something to this. When you submit online, if there is this group of different age authors, I recommend to have the young researcher as corresponding author of the submission, so that this young researcher is responsible to follow the process, to answer to editors, and to submit the final reviewed paper according to what we will be sharing as feedbacks from reviewers. So if you are a group, let's say, of 2 or 3 or 4 authors of different ages, the corresponding author, this is something that you have to check actually when you submit. The corresponding author should be the youngest.
Great. So mainly led by a young author. I'll move to Katja. I don't know if or you lowered your hand. Maybe Helena.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My question is regarding the points for scientific journal publications. Does the special issue, or will the special issue have any points for the published articles?
Sorry, can you say again the last sentence?
Okay, my question is regarding the point system that scientific publications have, and if the special issue will have any points for the published articles.
Sorry, but I think I don't understand. The points, what do you mean?
Yeah, like so, this is something, I'm from Poland. This is something that's very important here due to structural changes. Yeah. It's a point system for scientific journals, either 20, 40, 70, 100, 140, or 200. Usually collected publications have 40 or 70 points. I was just wondering if this one does as well or not at all.
I'm not sure about this system that you are mentioning from Poland, but what I can say,
the system is international.
Yeah, yes, we are working on indexing in Scopus of the Journal of Public Space, which we currently do not have, but we are applying in January for Scopus indexing. And so I guess that at some point next year, we will know how the journal has been ranked according to Scopus. And so then we will know about these points you are referring to.
Okay, thank you.
May I just add, is it Helena?
Yeah.
That you could also approach your university, given the high profile of this journal, and see if it's an internal ranking that they could give you an equivalent. You may be able to look at it that way as well.
Okay, I'll try it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Helena. Sehash?
Hello everyone, greetings from Chennai, India, and
Oh, I can't hear you.
that can we also focus a part of our research on conflict-prone regions? Focusing on a part of our research on those arenas, or do we strictly have to focus on urban regions within cities and focusing on communities and cities itself?
Yeah, so can maybe, for some reason, it's not very clear. My apologies. Can you try again or type in the chat?
I don't know if the other colleagues managed to.
Now, my question is that can we focus a part of our research on conflict-prone regions, or do we have to focus specifically on urban cities and communities? That's my question. I hope I'm audible.
If I understood correctly, Christelle, Sherry, the question was regarding whether we can also focus on conflict areas or whether it needs to be specifically on the topic that have been discussed until now. I don't know if now it's clear, Christelle.
Oh, of course. But urban still.
Are you referring to conflict context in an urban setting? So would that be like post-conflict areas or?
This is very important if it's a conflict or post-conflict, as long as it's also still urban. It's extremely important point, as you know. I'm sure from your question, you must be asking for a specific reason. I think it would be a very important focus.
Yeah. So I hope that answered the question. So as you can definitely address conflict context within urban settings. Jeremy?
Hi, yes. Morning, everyone. My question is there anywhere where we can find examples of previous submissions to read?
Well, yes, of course. The journal, as I said, is online. And you can download the old contents of previous issues that we published. It's open access. Journalpublicspace.org.
So maybe Kara, can you paste again the link on the chat? And you can see all the previous editions, Jeremy, and you can get to know more or less how the edition will look like.
Do those,
Priya?
does that include the abstract as well?
Sorry?
Yes, abstracts as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Priya.
Yes, that's me.
Sorry, I'm gonna ask Priya to please reiterate some of the questions as we're not hearing from the room. So Priya, go ahead.
Sure. So my question was, do we have to focus the paper on one city specifically, or is it, I don't know, could be based on a collection of cities? What do you think?
Yes, a collection of cities. Are you thinking of the longer paper?
Longer paper, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, specific research questions that look at and compare a couple of cities or several cities would be very powerful, as long as focusing on public space, youth, health, and well-being.
Okay, sounds great. So in that case, I have another question. If we're comparing two cities, do both of them have to be intermediary cities, or can one be a bigger urban space, or does that matter?
Not really. Our pilot cities for the projects are intermediary, but for the submission and the global challenge, we're open for you want to go for more smaller, intermediate, cosmopolitan, compact, low density. I think it's nice to have a variety of cases and submissions, so we can also have a broader overview of what is happening in terms of youth health and well-being. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you. That's it. That sounds perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Priya. I can see Katya again, so maybe I'll give you the floor.
Hello. Hello.
Maybe it's
Hello.
thanks. I can see you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Okay, maybe you can write your question in the chat. That way we're be sure to answer it. And I'll move to Gitsa, Hero.
Hello. I have several questions. One of them was similar to Jeremy's question. It's about the publications on the journal. Is it stated like which one is which version, like the academic long one and the other ones, or is it something we can just like figure out from the structure of the text somehow? Just like to understand the layouting and like seeing similar references.
You mean it when you fill out the form and submit your abstract?
No, like on the journal where there's several already other references that we can see of previous papers.
Oh.
How can we tell which is which type of paper?
So the previous editions did not accommodate for flexibility of submission. This is the first submission that we're also having like the poetry, the images, the photography aspect. But Louisa can touch upon if her previous editions had non-academic and academic, which I believe that was the case. But for the other submissions, it's the first time we're actually accommodating.
Okay.
So this type of
So it is stated academic, non-academic in the submissions that we will be seeing on the journal.
Sorry, say again.
So it is stated which is which on the journal, like academic submission, non-academic.
Yes.
So
yes,
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, I can answer to this. Yes, this is the first time that we are asking for poetry, photography, and more creative contents from youth. But in the past, we published special issues on art and activism in public space. So we have published portfolios related to the work of artists and activists. So we already had that kind of contents, but different, of course. Yes, we have to include the contents in specific sections, which are explaining which is academic, which is non-academic, which is portfolio, and so on. This is very important for our readers, since this is helpful for them to understand how to manage contents. And also in terms of indexing in Scopus, as I was mentioning before, it is very important that we do not have, all these contents, mixed, but in clearly, stating which one is academic and which one is not. But that doesn't mean that contents that are non-academic are less relevant than academic contents. It's just a different way to review them and a different way to assist authors during the peer review process.
Okay. And the other question is more like a reflection, like what is the intention on pushing the digital apps in public spaces right now? As like with health, we always think of physical health and pushing people to move and using the actual space instead of going digitally. So how does that fall into the intention or pushing in the paper?
Namrata, do you want to take this or should I take it?
I think you can take it, Christelle.
Yeah, I think you asked about the digital aspect, right? It's just so I understand. Yeah. So in our 10 years of public space program, we really focus on digital engagement using games like Minecraft, using digital tools like Kobo Collect or Kobo Toolbox to collect with and by the youth qualitative and quantitative information, but also giving them the platform through a digital game, for example, to express how they envision their public space. So the digital tool has helped us to, one, raise their voices, but two, show us through a very simple way how a public space could be potentially designed. And we know from our workshops, we hear lots of quotes and testimony that like, oh my God, now I'm very interested to do architecture, or now I want to pursue a background in coding, or now I want to do be in the youth council in my city because of this process. But it has never been documented in a way that is like scientific. And this is why also the purpose of the Young Game Changer came to be focusing on the digital engagement. Now, another thing is that in most of the countries that we work in, which are very like the low and middle income kind of countries, there is a digital divide and there's a digital gap. And so in many countries and cities where we work, unfortunately, many young people have never, for example, seen a tablet or a computer or interacted with digital equipment. And so giving them the access to those tools have been very, very powerful in order to expose them to skills and, gain more knowledge, but also to, ensure more like future employability, because now they know more things that can help them be different, from other people in their community. So this is why the digital change to be a topic. And of course, we're open to hear how it could be also related to health and well-being from a different perspective, whether being like using sensors for measuring air pollution, for example, or whether about like sensor for measuring like motion and how much people get, for example, stressed in a certain environment. There has been some studies done, but not mainly from the youth lens. So there has been lots of use of sensors and equipment from the health and well-being, but not really from the lens of young people have some benefit. So I hope that answered it.
Can I just add, there's one thing that we haven't talked about, and that is integrating digital space in public space. So if you want to push the edge of what public space could look like, with sound, visual, the integration of the two, that would be very interesting as well. But that is not the focus when we reference digital engagement here.
Yeah, so I kind of, it's way more clear now. So it's more like used as a tool for engagement and to push the research and the participation of the people more. That's super cool. And one more thing, is this call going to be shared, like the recording of the meeting?
Yes, we will be sending the recording to everyone, especially that we had people signing from different time zones that couldn't join us today. So we will send all the information and the presentation later on in email.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I'll move to Salma.
I want to know more about the paper structure. Like, do you mean, is it like going to be like a thesis paper where I have a problem and I have like a research question that I need to answer and reflect on these, or is it going to be more of informative and a case study analysis and ending with like my final conclusion? Like, I want to know more about what you're actually looking for in terms of the paper structure. And thank you.
I can start and then Louisa might want to add. For the shorter paper, I think that's more a reflection. So in that context, your case study and reflection and analysis is perfect. The longer paper does require a research question and requires a method and analysis, literature review, and so on. Now, I think a good way to do this is to review past articles by the Journal of Public Space, but then as well I'm happy to answer questions and assist in that regard also, because I don't know, Louisa, if you want to add further there, please do.
Yes, well, I confirm what you just said. Of course, a long paper is intended to go into deeper analysis and studies, and even referring to more than one case study. While the shorter is intended to have a clear focus on something very specific, which could be a challenge or a specific place, case study, or a general reflection in regard of the main topic of the call.
Great. Now we move to Virajita.
Yeah, Virajita. Hi, thank you. Thank you in the interest of time. So we're working on a multi-city project that primarily deals with adolescent well-being in public spaces. And we deal primarily with disadvantaged communities. But the challenge here is, while we can engage them with being primary authors, there is a language barrier because they are thinking in their local languages, and probably we as supporting authors would be doing the translation or helping with the translation into English. Now, we are, of course, not the 32, don't fit into the 32-year barrier, but then to put them as corresponding authors would then also be challenging because of the language barrier again. So how can we, because that's fine, the attribution, and they're going to be primary authors and we're going to be translators, and that division would probably be okay. But because I think the voices, again, especially within the context of what you're trying to put out, is a very interesting and relevant dynamic to be there. So is this something one can navigate within the call for papers and the submission requirements? That is the question that I have. Thank you. Thank you.
Louisa, do you want to start, or would you like?
No, please go ahead.
Okay, well, first off, that sounds really exciting, and it is very easy to navigate, and I'm happy to correspond by email on that, because there's different ways you can do this, right? You can add them as contributing contributors. You could do it more in a focus group. You know, there's different ways that you can make sure they're acknowledged, but still be the person or the group actual writing separate to, because I don't think you can, without their consent, add their name to the paper either. So we'd have to work through that as well.
Yeah, no. What I meant is that they would be primary authors, but the correspondence would probably have to be dealt with somebody who's not 32 years old. That is what I meant. They would be primary authors for sure, because they understand and comprehend. They understand and comprehend, and they're going to be attributed. But the correspondence is probably not something that they can handle very easily and within their time. That is my very specific question. It's not the attribution. They're definitely going to be primary authors in this.
So you
case.
could put the submission for them and then work with us.
Yes. That was the situation. Yes.
Great. Sorry.
Yeah, also,
Sorry,
if I can add, when you submit online and you have to list all the names of the authors, there is also a box, comments for the editor. So in case you want to add some notes or clarify, something, you can add notes in that specific box.
No, thank you so much. That helps. Thank you.
Great. So I'll move to Glory.
Hello, am I audible?
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, we're having, oh, good.
Hello. I'm Gauri from India. Hello.
We can't hear, so maybe Chiara, can you reiterate that?
I want
We
to
do
ask
hear you better.
can we write about ongoing work of advocacy for safe space led by queer and opposites inocity? Is it worthy of submission?
In case you haven't understood, Christelle, the question is whether it's relevant to talk about public space, safe public space for queer and transgender people.
And also,
Yeah.
exactly.
This is a very we do welcome this topic. So please do, especially when it comes to also like the well-being aspect of it. So yes, going to your question, it is a good topic.
Yeah, and thinking about the design elements that are important. So yeah, moving beyond assessment of the problem to perhaps a policy or a design response would be interesting in this context as well.
Good. Maybe I'll give it now to Chiara to highlight a few questions from the chat, as I don't see any more hands.
Thanks a lot, Christelle. Sherry and I have been trying to address the comments as they come, but in case we missed anything, we will get back to you via emails. I think there are two questions that came out from different people that maybe is worth to talk about. The first is whether there is possible to submit a different abstract as author. So I am one author and I'm submitting 2-3 different abstracts, and whether these will be, how this will be selected. And the second question is, what is the number of papers that we are aiming at? Where is the maximum number that we are aiming? Thank you.
Louisa, because we have the poems and so on, in a typical edition.
Yeah, well, you can submit different abstracts, of course, and but usually we do not have same authors for different articles, so we will pick only one proposal in case you are selected. And in the past, we had many submissions when we opened this call for papers for special issues, and we had up to 100. So the selection process is aiming to select a small number, because usually we publish up to 15, 20 papers for each issue. So let's say maybe, a small percentage of the overall submissions that we receive. By the way, we have already received submissions, so you are already, in the process of reading and selecting.
So one possible idea is to think of other ways to collect those articles that don't make it into the journal and put them on. I mean, Olga, I think you're still
here.
here.
I think we had an idea also on our webpage to host few of the papers that we think are also still valuable for our topic. Also, when it comes to the photography, the poems, we'd be very happy to include them in some of our reports, some cover page of some of our publications. So there are opportunities to still use some of the submissions in different ways, even if they don't make it to the Journal of Public Space. I'll move to Alan before I give Chiara back again the mic to see what other questions in the chat are. So Alan? I can't.
think if there's still questions.
I think Alan is speaking, but I
think
Alan is speaking, but I can't hear.
Sorry, I had muted. Can you hear me?
Am I audible? I had a question
Yes.
actually.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Alan, go ahead.
Yes. So I wanted to find out about if I'm Alan from Kenya, Nairobi. So I've seen going to select about 15 to 20 papers. Wanted to find out if someone sends a research paper for a current problem, how can these like enable it to be addressed? Can they be addressed? Maybe a research that focuses on a problem that is current. Can this paper serve as a point where this problem can be addressed to the community?
We're sorry, there's a very, very low quality here. Kiara, can you again help us?
I couldn't hear here then, sorry.
Are you asking if your paper can address problems and challenges?
I'm saying if the research is addressing the current challenges, will this support?
You can email and ask as well.
Alan, do you wanna write that on the chat? We're very sorry, but I don't know if it's from probably it's from our end, right? But maybe write it on the chat so we can maybe send it. Kiara, any other burning questions? We are already 5 minutes over time, but maybe we take one more and then we make sure to respond to everyone via email.
One question was about a participation certificate. We could do, I don't know.
We haven't thought about it yet, but maybe we can discuss it and see if that could be an option.
Hello. I had a question.
Yes, Tanya.
Firstly, I would like, it's a really nice opportunity for us because we are from a small city and we are transgender people. And here, like in the condition of transgender people is not very good. And in 90% of the cases, they are either disowned or they have to leave their families. So we already have a little collective of students who are like, it's a collective to just meet and create a safe space to express ourselves, and we meet physically also and have meetings also online. But also I was asking that can we include the concept of shelter homes in this project? Like along with public spaces, shelter homes is also required, because here there has been a case and two, like when kids, like teenagers or kids, are like literally abandoned by their families or they had to run away just because of being queer and trans. So
okay,
is
for
that
us,
relevant?
when we define public space, we have three broader categories for public spaces, and that is like open public space, streets as public space, and public facilities. So the shelter home, if it is within the public facilities, I don't know who owns are they like, if they're like private use but for public use, that could also work. I think, Tanya, the abstract is quite short. If you put that idea forward and you explain, also the relation of those shelter home to the public realm as well, that could be something that we can definitely consider. So I would encourage you to still write an abstract and send your idea through, and we can definitely consider it as a potential paper.
And for further queries, where shall we contact if we have any further queries?
Sorry, say again.
If we have any further queries, where shall we contact if it's available?
Yeah, so we have provided some emails to contact us when it comes to the submission. They are also available on phone and on the website, but we will also be sending again an email with the presentation and the recording and all the right emails that you can, send and address your questions.
I just put it in the chat again as well, my email.
Great. I think with that,
Thank
we're
you.
already 10 minutes over time. I know there are a lot of questions unanswered, but we will make sure to go through them and probably address them in